Welcome back to MSWR, everybody. I am your host, Mr. Sean, and today's whiskey is Jim Beam. In case you have forgotten, MSWR stands for Mr. Sean's Whiskey Ramblings, where I ramble and drink whiskey. This will be the third time I have attempted to record this episode. Of course, there is no script, but I recorded it once, was not happy with it, recorded it again, did not finish making the video, and since then, I have a little bit more to say on the topic. Today's topic focuses on the idea of wokeness and the act of being woke and what that means, as well as if there is any validity to the statement that various alternative lifestyles are trying to, in the words of many people, including my parents, shove their ideals down everyone's throats. The idea for this video started all the way back on Mother's Day when my father had quite a few things to say about the controversy regarding Bud Light's partnership with famous, I'd never heard of them before, but transgender woman Dylan Mulvaney. And that conversation with my father was what I talked about a lot in the previous recording of this video, but then I just kind of sat on it. I didn't post it. I didn't get around to making the video. And at Memorial Day, my extended family had even more to say about it. My parents, while conservative, are somewhat progressive in that they believe that people should just be able to live their lives and that the government shouldn't be telling people what to do. Now, they are Christians, but they've never really seemed to have anything against gay people other than they don't like, in their own words, it being shoved down their throat in TV shows. But in my father's defense, he hates all forms of public displays of affection, so he doesn't like seeing straight people do that either. My mom might be a little bit more conservative than she lets on. So because my father is against all forms of celebrity worship and really doesn't give two craps and has always been a Bud Light drinker, I was shocked to hear that my family is no longer purchasing Bud Light due to the quote-unquote, finger quotes, controversy. I was surprised to hear, well, I was not surprised to hear that their reasoning was that they feel as though this trans wave is being shoved down people's throats, including this, as they put it, commercial and ad campaign. And I was kind of amazed they didn't know, and I didn't know back on Mother's Day, the facts, and I ended up looking it up, that there was no ad campaign. There was no shoving it down people's throats. All there was a single, I think it was an Instagram or Twitter post video from Ms. Mulvaney saying that they had partnered with Bud Light to become a new brand ambassador, try and reach a new market, and that Bud Light had been nice enough to send her a can with a picture of her face on it. Now, do I think that the people in the LGBTQ community who Mulvaney, who appears to be a very glamorous dressing individual, fans of her are going to be keen to drink Bud Light? No, I don't. I think Bud Light is for a much lower brow audience, and I'm not saying that to make fun. I drink Bud Light. So I definitely think it was the wrong partnership to make, but personally, I am amazed by the amount of backlash going on. And the thing I keep hearing from people talk about this is that they have nothing against LGBTQ+, they have nothing against trans people, but they just don't like having all this shoved down their throat. And I thought to myself, what other groups are saying that things are being shoved down their throats? And the three main groups that I came up with are just conservatives in general. The parents say that the child-free movement is shoving their ideals down their throat. And Christians have been saying that non-Christians are shoving their ideals down their throat. And that this combination of conservative, straight, Christian breeders are saying that ultimately wokeness is the idea that all of these alt groups are forcing them to accept their ideals, and that non-straight, non-Christian, child-free individuals are trying to eradicate them and destroy their way of life. And that got me thinking, is that really true? And also, as always, there's, there's feminism thrown in there, and whether it's good or bad, and are we trying to destroy the male identity by accepting women as our equals? And while this is me drinking whiskey and talking, so I don't have a lot of scientific charts and whatnot to go off of, I have had a lot of life experience with all of these various groups, and I wanted to give my 2 cents on it. So where am I, who am I, and what demographics am I coming at this from in my own personal viewpoint? Well, I am a straight, white male in my mid-30s. I have nothing against faith, but I do not believe in organized religion. And what that truly means to me is that I do believe there is a higher power in the universe, but I don't believe people should be all getting in the same room and talking about how their version of that higher power is the right one. Politically, I am a libertarian. And what I mean by that is not one of those MAGA or Proud Boys or one of the fake ideals that people say is libertarian. No, I am an actual libertarian. And what that means, at least to me, is that I believe that people should be able to live their own lives, the government should stay out of it, and also, it is not my job to pay for you to live your best life, just like it is not your job to pay for me to live my best life. So as long as you can afford it and you're not hurting anybody, you should be able to live the way you wish to live. And while I have to review this on a case-by-case basis, I do believe it is okay to give someone a hand up, but not a hand out. People can be given the tools to succeed, but then it's on them. I believe that no business is too big to fail, including the government. And I am child-free, especially due to some facts that there are some issues with my own genetics and some issues I had to learn to get over as a child, and I would not want to inflict that on another human being. So, that is who I am, and where these opinions that you are about to hear are coming from. You very easily could possibly not agree with me at all, and that's cool. In fact, I encourage you to tell me that in the comments. Tell me your point of view, and you know what? Let's have a talk. I am perfectly okay with the fact that there are people out there who will not agree with me. And while I believe that there is a time and a place for hate in this world, that hate should be put towards people that have actually wronged you, instead of just random groups that have nothing to do with you. Personally, I have neither the time nor energy to just hate a group of people that are just living their lives. But hey, if you come at me personally, then yeah, we can be enemies. That's cool. And of course, before we get into this further, be sure to like, comment, and subscribe, as well as check the links, maybe buy a mini. And with all that being said, let's get into Mr. Sean's whiskey ramblings on wokeness.
Oh yeah.
Alright guys, so I don't really have a format for this, but let's take a look first at how people feel. Let's start from the back. How is it childbearing, child-rearing, breeding individuals who have kids are saying that the child-free movement is shoving their child-free ways down their throats? Let's look at this. Now, as stated previously, I am a child-free man myself. I had some issues as a kid, ADHD, a couple other mental things that I had to learn, first through medication and then with coping mechanisms, how to live as a normal, functional human, and I just don't want to put a child through that. To that effect, I have decided not to pass on my genetic material, even though I am the last male in my family line, and therefore, my line ends with me. Well, that's not to say that my line ends with me, just that my name ends with me. I have cousins that have kids, so the genetics from my father's side will continue. The genetics from my mother's side will continue, as I have cousins on both sides with children. It's just the name, really, that's going away completely. My sister is child-free, but who knows if that changes. She has just as much of my family genetics as I do. And to be fair, my family isn't some ancient imperial dynasty. I come from a long line of Jewish hat salesmen, even though no one in my family's been Jewish for 2 generations. But yes, I am so adamant about not passing on my personal genetics that I have already had a vasectomy. And, 1, because I don't want to be a dad, and 2, because I want the freedom to come home, cream pie my wife, and just have a good night without worrying that she's going to get pregnant. And that's not something I'm going to ever apologize for enjoying. And while the world is perfectly okay with a man being child-free, there's a lot more pressure put on women to bear children. When I went to the doctor to see about getting a vasectomy, One, the procedure was only about $1,000. And that's not, I had insurance and that covered most of it and I paid $1,000. No, that was the cost of the entire surgery because my insurance covered none of it because it's an elective procedure. But when I went into that appointment, the doctor said, okay, you want a vasectomy. How old are you? Well, I'm 34. Okay. Do you have any kids? No. Are you in a relationship? Yes. Have you talked about it? Yes. Okay, let's make sure you don't have testicular cancer and we'll get you scheduled. I went in a few weeks later, had the procedure done, was back to work in a couple of days. Now, the procedure for a woman is far more invasive. It's a lot more expensive. The recovery time is a lot more. And also, it's not just that, but when a woman goes in to have her tubes tied or have a hysterectomy, basically a woman looking for the surgical option of permanent birth control, as it is called, both for her options and the vasectomy, women get a lot more pushback, including doctors outright refusing to do the procedure, even if a woman already has kids because, you might want to have kids in the future, or you might want to have more, because what they're essentially telling a woman is that her only real purpose is to create offspring. But apparently a guy can just walk into the doctor's office and say, I don't ever want to have kids because I feel like they'll get in the way of my life. And the doctor will be like, yeah, I hear that. And it's not just the medical field that's treats women this way, or just treats child-free people this way. Not only are me and my fiance child-free, but I have a cousin who he and his wife are child-free. And at their wedding, the question everybody asked them was, well, now that you're married, when are you going to have kids? And that's a very bold question to ask because a lot of people don't want kids. So I think ultimately, in this situation, it's not the child-free people that are shoving their ideals down the throats of those who chose to have children. It's actually the other way around. Because everyone I know in the child-free community, we don't judge people for wanting to have children. We do judge them for not controlling their children, for not disciplining their children, for not, making their children everyone else's problem. We judge you for that, but we don't judge you for wanting to have children. Meanwhile, you have things like that mom at Disney with her Twitter post about how childless couples shouldn't be at Disney because they don't have children. Like, I would never go to Disney World and be like, oh my god, why did people bring their children here? But I also wouldn't want people judging me, because I totally intend to take my fiance to Disney World at some point after we're married because she's never been. She really wants to go. I've been several times. I was fortunate and privileged enough to be able to go on several Disney vacations, and I would love to see her experience that. But we will not have a kid with us when we do it, and I hate to think that people will be judging us for that because we're just living our lives without children. But it almost feels like people who do have children, at least on some level, may regret it and then are mad at people who realized that they didn't want to have kids, that just because having kids is what you do isn't what we wanted to do, and therefore because we were strong enough to make that decision, they're mad, and they constantly want to go, well, you'll change your mind someday, or who's going to take care of you when you get older? And I can't think of anything worse than having a child with the expectation that once I bring them into the world, which is my choice, not theirs, that because I did that, they will be expected to take care of me in my old age as a reward for me bringing them into this terrible world we live in. Children should never be a retirement plan. And I don't go around telling people how child-free I am. I know there are people that do, but those are just bad people. If they had kids, they'd be on the opposite end telling child-free people how they need to have children. That's not even the majority of us. We're more than happy to live our lives and just let you live yours, because that's life. So people with kids, child-free people aren't telling you how to live your life, and we'd appreciate it if you stopped telling us how to live ours.
Oh yeah.
So let's look at the second group. Christians stating that non-Christians are trying to shove let's put it this way, mostly it's them saying that the atheists are trying to shove their views down their throat. I'm just going to come out and say that this one is ridiculous. I'm not an atheist myself, but I know several of them, and the only atheists I've ever known that tell other people that they're stupid for having faith in a higher power are the atheists who are just assholes who happen to be atheists. But, when anybody in this world sneezes, somebody says, "Bless you." We put up all the Christmas decorations, and people get chastised for saying Happy Holidays instead of Merry Christmas. People got mad at Starbucks for having holiday cups, not Christmas cups. Right now, in Texas, there is a group that feels that the 10 Commandments should be put up as a poster in every single public school. An act which is not only unconstitutional, but also deeply unchristian. Christianity has a very much love thy neighbor mentality, and yet these people act like because there are people who are not Christian themselves, that they can just be mean to them, and Jesus is going to be okay with it because we're just telling the heathens the truth. Meanwhile, Jesus hung out with people who were considered the dregs of society. They weren't Christians. Christianity wasn't even a thing back then. But he said it was important to be kind to your neighbor. Even when people were killing him, he said, "Father, forgive them. They know not what they do." So if you want to lead by Jesus' example, stop being mean to people. Nobody is trying to force you guys to have a Yule celebration, though the pagans that celebrate Yule would appreciate it if they were included. But Christians feel so threatened by other points of view that they want to put their literature, their iconography, in public spaces because apparently in their minds, the existence of other beliefs will destroy the Christian religion. And if your faith is the one true faith, how can that be true? So once again, it looks far more like the group that claims others are trying to force their beliefs down their throats are actually the ones attempting to shove their beliefs down the throats of the people they are accusing. Look, you don't have to agree with me on this. I just call it like I see it. When I was growing up in the Protestant church, my dad was more or less ostracized until he fully converted to Lutheranism because he was Episcopal, and that was the wrong kind of Protestant. I don't know of people saying you're the wrong kind of pagan.
Oh yeah.
Alright guys, and now we come to the group that, I guess, inspired this entire video, which is of course the straight people, conservative straight people, saying that the LGBTQ plus agenda is being shoved down their throat. This is the one I probably heard the most growing up because anytime there was a gay couple on screen, my mom would talk about how, oh my god, why do they have to have gay people in this? Why is this important? Why do we need this gay sex scene on my Grey's Anatomy show? Which, I mean, to be fair, I thought Grey's Anatomy should just be called When Doctors Fuck. So it kind of made sense that if there were gay characters on Grey's Anatomy, we would see them fucking, at least by, network TV standards, at some point. But, as a young, impressionable individual being raised in a somewhat conservative household, I thought, yeah, why do you have to throw all this gayness at us? Is this really important to the story? But by that extent, are straight sex scenes really important to the story? It's like my dad telling me that back in like the 60s or 50s or 60s when he and his family went to the drive-in to see the new James Bond movie, while my dad loved all the cool cars and cool gadgets, his dad was really into all the Bond girls. And it's like, so for my dad, the Bond girls added nothing because that's just who my dad is. Like he wasn't looking forward to the sex scenes. He wanted to see the explosions, the cool sports cars, and all the cool gadgets, which, to be fair, I also agree is the coolest part of James Bond. I mean, I'm a horn dog, but I still can admit that, like, yeah, you can see pretty girls anywhere, but I go to Bond for the gadgets and the cars. So, to put this very bluntly, if you think that any gay love scene in any movie or TV show is shoving the idea down our throats, then you would have to, on the other side, also see any straight love scene in movies or TV being shoving heterosexuality down everyone's throats. And people are complaining that all these gay love scenes are woke and that shows have gone woke and that we should boycott them because wokeness is bad. Also notice that only the people who are against quote-unquote wokeness are using the term woke. People who they see as woke don't use that term anymore. And nobody is calling for the removal of all sex scenes. I mean, I'm sure there's some far alt-right conservative group that probably all lives in a commune and marries their daughters, but they're probably saying, hey, get rid of all sex scenes. They probably don't have a TV in the cult compound anyway, but that group is. But people who consider themselves, normal straight people aren't calling for the removal of all sex scenes, just the gay ones. Because in their minds, even bringing any attention to the fact that gay people exist is somehow threatening to the straight existence. And honestly, outside of misguided religious fanaticism, I don't understand what the problem is. If someone is gay, that does not affect any straight person ever. With more or less the following exception. If you were really into someone of the opposite gender and you find out that they are gay, they are now no longer an option for you. Which, okay, if you have a crush on someone and you find out they're out of your reach, I can see that that's disappointing. But it's also not harmful. As a straight man, the fact that there are gay men does not hurt me. Honestly, I think one of the best ways I've ever seen this put is in the, to be fair, terrible comic series, Ultimate X-Men, where the character Colossus in this Marvel reality is gay. And when this is made aware to the character Nightcrawler, who even in this reality is somewhat religious, and he had previously been best buddies with Colossus, and he suddenly distances himself from him after finding out that Colossus is gay. And finally Colossus sits down with him and has a talk and says, come on, man, why don't you want to be my friend anymore? And he says, well, it's just that, it's weird. And Colossus looks at him and says, dude, you're not even my type. And Colossus looks at him and said, come on, dude, do you honestly want to sleep with every single woman you've ever met? And Nightcrawler gets this look of realization on his face and goes, oh, and they go back to being friends. There's this idea in the prejudicial straight community that gay people aren't going to respect that you're not gay. And that's just not true. Now, are there bad people in the world? Are there rapists in the world? Do some of those rapists happen to be gay? Sure, but that is not in any way, shape, or form the fault of the gay community. That is because there is something wrong with that specific person that has nothing to do with them being gay. Rape isn't even about sex, it is about power. So a gay rapist, it's more about the fact that he wants to have power over somebody, and guys are the only way he can get it up. It just means that his victims are men. I actually posed a question. I've been trying to figure out questions that will get a lot of answers on r/askreddit. So far, I've really not been successful, so the questions I've posed have not gotten a lot of responses. And again, I want to make videos out of these. But one thing I said was, hey, people who have pretended to be something or someone they are not to get a significant, for the sake of a relationship, how did that go? And one guy said, well, it was really awkward pretending to be straight when I am a gay man, having to explain to my girlfriend why I couldn't get it up. Which is honestly something I've always wondered, is that if gay men who are closeted and pretending to be straight and have a girlfriend, are you able to get it up in the bedroom when you're not attracted to women? And apparently it's very difficult. Which makes perfect sense, because people have this weird idea that, guys can just get it up at any time, but it's like if you were, if I was in a room full of penises, the last thing I would have is a boner, alright? I used to work with a guy who, when he first started working with me and my other friend, he was gay. He wasn't openly gay, though apparently everybody but us could tell. I don't know. I just don't tend to think about people's sexuality one way or the other unless they tell me about it. But he always referred to his boyfriends as this person I'm seeing, or his significant other, never gendered it. Which, if I wasn't so damn oblivious, I probably would have picked up on. But one day, me and my friend, we asked this guy how it's going, and he just breaks down and he goes, this guy I'm seeing just ghosted me. And in this split second, we are now, one, brought to the realization that our friend is gay and has been seeing a man. And what is our response? We look at our friend and go, well, damn, does he even like dick? Because you're a catch, man. Like, I have no attraction to this person, but I can objectively look at him and go, well, if I was gay, I'd be all over that. He's the kind of dude that when you ask him what he did over the weekend, he says he made a charcuterie board and watched Yuri on Ice. So it's like, oh, my man. For anybody who doubted that I'm drinking whiskey while I'm recording this, I actually had to go back and listen to that entire section to see what point I was fucking trying to make, because I completely forgot between starting this section and what you just listened to. But my point is that gay relationships are no different than straight relationships, other than the fact that people with the same genitals are getting together. And ultimately, that hurts nobody. If your friend is gay, okay, cool, more pussy for you if you're a guy. If anything, it's better, and I don't mean better, but I mean it's less competition to be friends with gay guys, because they're not going to be going after the same girl you are. You're not going to have to worry about your girl cheating with the gay guy. And I know these examples are somewhat misogynistic, but it's like, I'm just trying to make a point here that there is nothing wrong with the existence of gay people. Their existence does not in any way, shape, or form negatively impact you. And if you surround yourself with good people, it's not going to matter what their sexuality is. People always act like being straight is nothing more than the bland act of sticking a penis in a vagina. And I'm sorry, straight people have fetishes, straight people can have kinks, straight people can have preferences, and that's no different than the gay community. But the thing is, if you surround yourself with good people, they are going to respect your boundaries, they're not going to try and force you into anything that you don't want to do, and therefore the existence of gay people is not harmful. So, when straight people want to eliminate all references to someone being gay in media, but they're totally fine with depictions of straight people having intercourse in media, that is not the gay agenda shoving its beliefs down your throat. To be fair, the only thing the gay agenda is interested in shoving down anyone's throats is possibly gay guys and their penises into the mouths of other gay guys. I'm just saying. So unless you are calling for the removal of all sexuality from media, what you are in fact doing is shoving the straight sexuality down people's throats. You are trying to make sure that the only portrayal of any type of sexuality is that of a man and a woman. And that, unfortunately, for all of you that believe this in this day and age, just isn't the case anymore. There is a wide spectrum of sexuality, and all of them, maybe not all of them, there are weirdos and perverts out there that we don't need to accept, like I'm talking if you're into animals or lollies or underage people, whatever. But if you are a consenting adult, interested in another consenting adult, it does not matter what gender or what genitals you have. Love is love. And to say that the only thing that should be depicted to people is a man and a woman, that is shoving the straight agenda down people's throats. And it is not okay to inflict your views on other people. But depicting the existence of gay people is not doing that. In fact, trying to eliminate depictions of gay people is doing that. So, again, in this case, the only people trying to shove their beliefs down our throats in the purpose of sexuality are the straights.
Oh yeah.
And guys, that's really all I have for this video. Maybe you agree with me, maybe you are about to unsubscribe to my channel, maybe you already have. I don't know, this could honestly be absolute poison for my subscriber numbers. At the time of this recording, my channel is at 91 subscribers, and we're really hoping to make that 100 subscribers soon. Of course, when we do, we will do another giveaway, but who knows, maybe my subscriber count will plummet after this video. But in all honesty, guys, I don't care. I made this channel as a way to get my minis out into the world, and despite my subscriber count rising pretty rapidly recently, my mini sales have not. In fact, the last 2 that I sold were to different people who just let the timer expire on their window to pay on eBay, and they just never paid. So this channel at the moment isn't really having the effect that I wanted it to, which was just, increasing my actual business, which is miniature making. I even put a poll on my channel which says, hey, should I make like a Patreon or a coffee or just make more miniatures? A lot of people said make a Patreon. I'm really hesitant to do that. I don't really want to. I'd rather people just buy minis. But what I'm trying to say is my subscriber count going down because of this specific video is not really a big deal to me. I enjoy making videos, and I enjoy making minis, and I'm trying to combine the two, but if that doesn't work, that doesn't work. Oh well. But I am so sick and tired of all the hate and all of the prejudice and people saying that their way of life is being attacked and that other people are attacking their moralities just because they exist. I have never once considered myself woke. I have never called myself a feminist. I have never considered myself an advocate for anybody. And if I, who consider myself to be a complete asshole, can see that people are overreacting and acting like other people just existing with a different lifestyle and mentality somehow affects others, which it doesn't. If I can see that gay people and non-Christians and non-breeders aren't a threat to people who do engage in being straight, being Christian, wanting to have children, your choices are fine. And the other people's choices are fine. If I can see that, then why can't you? I guess I would consider myself a good person, but I would never consider myself to be a nice person, to be a kind person. But even I understand that this hatred doesn't make any sense. And that's why I wanted to make this video. I wanted to tell you all that it's okay to not understand. It's okay to be weirded out. It's okay to be uncomfortable. But what it is not okay to do is try to eliminate the idea that there is any viewpoint outside of your own. People are going to live their lives, and that's not always going to appeal to your sensibilities, but it's also not a threat to them. The existence of child-free people does not harm people who want to have children. The existence of non-Christians does not harm Christians. The existence of LGBTQ plus people does not harm the straights. This is a big world, and we can all live together, if not in complete harmony, then at least in tolerance. Because at the end of the day, if something isn't hurting you, and by extension not hurting anybody else, there's no reason to hate it. I don't like sports. I don't watch sports. But I will never judge someone for spending their time, their effort, or their money on their enjoyment of sports. And this idea can be applied to everything. Somebody being different than you does not hurt you, and therefore you should not waste any of your time, effort, or money, I guess, in trying to destroy what other people enjoy. This world would be so much better if everybody could just adopt an ideal and a mentality of you do you. If you want to have heterosexual sex, go to church, and raise children, more power to you. But don't hate people for wanting to live a different life. I'm Mr. Sean. This is Chimera Miniatures, and until we meet again, I hope you alpha great day and an even beta tomorrow. Bye-bye.